What's up, guys? Tukey here, back again with another episode of my Montreal Canadiens franchise mode here on NHL 18, and let's get right down to business as the Season 2 sim continues. Now, we are very much in the playoff mix with 32 games to go, but we do have to keep an eye on a couple of players and a couple of different aspects of our team here. We are a month away from deadline day, and much like last year, we may just have to make another addition. Of course, last year we picked up Jack Johnson. We made it all the way to the Cup final. Now, with our team as it stands, there was a lot of talk about potentially changing player types. So I've gone ahead and done that. Now, Max Pacioretty, I changed to a sniper because that's really how he plays more than the power forward. EA sets him to a power forward. We've changed him back. We'll see what he can do. Jonathan Drouin, we moved to a right wing, and we've changed him from a sniper to a playmaker. He can really be either, but we'll see if having him set up as a playmaker can result in John Tavares, getting that goal scoring going. Of course, he's not going to hit the goal total or the point total he did last year, but getting him, really heated up heading into the playoffs is going to be key for us. Now, you'll notice, power forward, sniper, playmaker. Second line, very similar. Playmaker, sniper, and then either a power forward or a two-way. Pretty much all throughout the lines where I could afford to do so, except for the fourth line. The second line, we still have Arturi Lehkonen. He is set up as a sniper. You could argue as a playmaker as well, but we've kept Galchenyuk as a playmaker. He's listed as a first-line guy, by the way. So we'll see how he can do. And when it comes to the order of these players, I know that there's a lot of concern over Galchenyuk's development, over Jonathan Drouin's development, especially with both of them being listed as first-line guys. And that is something I'm also keeping an eye out on, and it really depends on how certain players progress. I mean, right now, if we want Galchenyuk and Drouin on the top line, it would pretty much involve moving him to the left wing, for example, moving Galchenyuk to the left wing, and we'd pretty much have to drop, it'd probably be Gallagher, who gets dropped to the third line so that we could bump up Philip Deneau to the second line forward spot, or a second line center spot, which might not be ideal. But anyway, the second line, of course, is Lehkonen as a sniper, Galchenyuk as a playmaker, Gallagher as the two-way. The third line, you have Charlie Hudon. Now, you could definitely argue playmaker. He was set up as a sniper before. I think he's better suited as a playmaker, but what I really think his ideal player role would be is as a two-way forward. However, what I'd like to do in that instance, because Philip Deneau is still a two-way forward and a great two-way forward, we then have Nikita Sherbak, who I have as a sniper. So we kind of want to keep that playmaker-sniper dynamic. I think the only way it would make sense to change Hudon to a two-way is if we also bumped Gallagher down to the third line. So you see what I mean as far as the top nine? There's just this heavy rotation and so many different options that we have as far as the player types go and just where we want to put these players in general. The fourth line is still pretty much the same. I changed Paul Byron to a two-way, changed Andrew Shaw to a center, and that's pretty much it. Defensively, I changed Shea Weber to a defensive D-man. The only reason is, despite the fact he has 20 points this year, he's just a bit slow. He's the slowest defenseman on the team. Despite having, decent puck control, decent offensive awareness, he'll still put up points, I'd like to think, as a defensive D-man. But maybe that change in style and having him not jump up ice so much will be good for us, because he has Darnell Nurse as a pairing on his left, and of course Nurse is a strong skater, good with the puck, good offensive awareness, and a cannon of a slap shot. So I want to see how well that works out, and that's the theme among the defense. Again, Nurse two-way, Weber's defensive. Alsner is defensive. I've moved Jeff Petrie to a two-way. Although, you could argue defensive D-man, which is what he was before. And then the third pairing, Derek Forbort, defensive D-man, Paul Ledoux, two-way. So we get the little LA King combination there. Anyway, let's get down to business. Let's sim a little bit further into February. Of course, it's February 1st. Let's see how this team does and whether or not we need to make additions, because I don't really think I've emphasized just how much trouble we are in if we don't win a cup this year. And you know what? Actually, hold on really quick. Let me show you just how much trouble we could really be in this season if we don't make it. Now, we should still be able to be competitive for a few years, but there are going to be a lot of pieces moving. And you look just with the main squad right now, Pacioretty, Forbort, Byron, and Ledoux, as well as Peter Holland, all UFAs at the end of the year. That pretty much means Derek Forbort was a rental this year. Paul Byron, we're going to let go of. Ledoux is basically a rental. How the hell are we going to afford Max Pacioretty, especially when Lehkonen, Nurse, Hudon, McCarron are all RFAs? This team is going to change a lot. As you can see right now, we have $16 million in cap space to try and hold on to Pacioretty, Nurse, Lehkonen. We're going to miss out on some people. So we need to win this year. That was the goal. That is why we set up the team the way that we did. That's why I put so much emphasis on having the Laval Rocket be terrible this year to try and really jumpstart the development of some of those prospects, because we are going to need those prospects to be NHL caliber very, very soon. So we'll see if we're going to be able to get to that point. We did lose our first game of this episode 5-1 to Florida. We beat the Anaheim Ducks 2-1 and then lost to the San Jose Sharks. So not an ideal start for us scouting-wise. Again, it's all shot in the dark. Who gives a damn, really? We'll go Liga defense for 2 weeks. Why not? Can we get the win over Vegas? 4-3 win, not bad. And in fairness, Laval, 25, 26, and 4. They're doing okay. Jordan Nolan on waivers. He would technically make the AHL team a little bit better. It would be decent enough as a depth guy, but yeah, we're going to decline that. We're going to decline, and then we ended up beating Anaheim anyway for the second time in 8 days. But we are up to 29 wins now. Let's go ahead and take a look around the league, maybe see if there have been any other trades or anything. We are still in 5th place in the division. We're 4 points back of Florida. We do have a game at hand. And no wildcard spots right now in the Atlantic. That is a very scary situation. The Buffalo Sabres on 71 points, 8 points ahead. We do have a game at hand on them too. Tavares up to, 41 points in 55 games? I already blanked on what it was. There have been other trades. Henrik Sedin, a 4th-round pick, and Jordan Nolan sent to Nashville for a 2nd and a 3rd. What the hell is Nashville doing? Nashville acquired Henrik Sedin and a 7th for a 2nd-round pick, and then flipped him along with a 4th and Jordan Nolan. What the hell? So Nashville claimed Jordan Nolan and then traded him back to Anaheim to acquire a 2nd and a 3rd. So you traded a 2nd to get Henrik Sedin, and then you traded him for a 2nd. What's going on in Nashville? Isaac Lundstrom, a 4th and a 7th to Calgary for defenseman Mike Green. He's back in Washington, and a 3rd-round pick. Those were the other 2 moves. So, interesting stuff going on around the league. I do want to take a look, though. Again, mainly it was standings. The stats, it's going to be tough to see the impact that our changes have had so far. But again, Pacioretty's doing all right. He's a minus player, though. Drouin, 39 points. Lehkonen's really going to have to step up, but we'll give him time to do so. Again, still have some underperforming players. Defensively, though, plus-minus is something I was a little bit worried about. Shea Weber's at a -3. Third pairing is doing well, though. Carl Alsner, no disrespect, but man, that contract, at least with how he's simmed so far in this game and in real life, yikes. But for the moment, we're doing all right. We will keep simming. We'll continue to approach that trade deadline day. We're actually going to sim to February 24th, the greatest day in the history of the universe. You see how I said that with just such confidence. 2 straight losses to Chicago and Boston. We do beat Carolina, and we need to beat Washington here. This is a really big game, and we just lost Paul Byron for the rest of the regular season. Well, we do have Peter Holland, so that's nice, but it's also not ideal. We did beat Washington. We had to win it in a shootout, but a win is a win. And that gets us to 32 on the season. Let's take a look. So we are without Paul Byron for the rest of the regular season. Tavares up to 43 points. We are 1 point back of Toronto, who do have a wild card spot, but we have 2 games on Toronto. So we're looking all right. But of course, the race is ridiculous. Ottawa's very much in it. The Bruins are very much in it. Detroit kind of falling back out of the race at this point. So I would definitely say trying to get another forward would be a good decision, but the problem is we are in cap hell right now. We are in cap hell. I could try to bring in someone like an Alex Chiasson or a Matt Reed. I don't know who the hell we'd be able to acquire that would be better. We'd essentially have to find a rental who is on an entry-level deal still. That's, I mean, I don't know. Like we're talking like a very niche market here. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who re-signed with Arizona, is on the trading block. James Neal makes way too much money. Jamie McGinn makes too much money. I think we'd have to rely on the free agent list because I don't see how we could possibly find a trade partner given how little cap space we have at the moment. I just don't see where we're going to find what we're looking for. Let's see, Calgary maybe? Nope, just Giordano and Stone. Carolina's getting rid of prospects. Anybody getting rid of anybody decent? Dallas has Gurionov and Heiskanen listed. See, that's the thing that I hate. It shows, 2 first-round picks. I guess because they're more valuable. But still. Detroit. Cronwall, Vermette, making 1.5. Is he really that much better than, say, like an Alex Chiasson? Not quite, and we wouldn't have to give up anything to get Chiasson. Is there anybody in LA? Drew Doughty is on the trade block. Holy shit. What is going on in LA? Holy shit. And they also signed Jarabek. How do you like that? Is there anybody here at all? And again, as far as who we could move, without moving, somebody who I don't really want to move because there's that challenge in not moving an Alzner. I think we're in a little bit of trouble here, aren't we? Very, very few options available to us. And I believe we only have 1 contract spot. Again, you got to keep in mind how many players we have down in junior right now. It's a bit of a problem. It really is. So again, Paul Byron is out. I mean, Peter Holland might just be the guy. Yeah, I don't see how we could possibly trade for anybody. Thomas Plekanec is on the block from New Jersey. They're also in a pretty rough cap situation. Plekanec ended up getting $2.8 million over 1 year. That would be interesting to bring him back. But talking about having them retain half the cap, I just don't know if that's going to be possible. I mean, I'd like to do it because I wanted to hold on to him, but again, getting John Tavares made that pretty improbable. Let's see. If they were to retain, they can't even retain 50%. So I'd be able to knock that. Yeah, even then, there's nobody we can get. So unless, I don't even think I have the trade block set up. I mean, we're pretty much locked in to the team we have right now. That is the situation. So I guess we will. I mean, I could set up the trade block, but I don't really see what we'd be able to do. So let's move forward. And I think on deadline day, I'm going to send an offer to either Alex Chiasson or some other forward. Actually, I'm going to do it right now. There's no deals we can make. We don't have the cap space. I was barely able to get this team together. And if this game froze on me again, and it did, EA, Jesus, come on. Again, two episodes in a row. Again. I don't even remember if it was the Hartford series, but Jesus, man. Alright, so here's the good news, at least. The autosave ended up bringing me right back to February 23rd. So Thankfully, I'm not having to re-sim any games, and our record is the same, but it is... Oh, it's getting frustrating. And it's only happened twice, but more than once is enough when it comes to the game freezing, but it is what it is. So as far as who we could bring in here, again, looking at our options, you have Alex Chiasson, who is, in fairness, a pretty well-rounded player. Matt Reed is as well. So Chiasson brings a little bit more with the physical play. Reed's a better skater and has arguably a better shot. So it's just, do we want a more physical presence from someone like Alex Chiasson? And to be honest, he would fit in pretty well on that fourth line right about now. You know what? I think we're going to try to bring in Chiasson here for 1 year. I think we're going to try to do it. Let's see what happens. Not quite the deadline day or, near trade deadline time acquisition that you would expect to make, but we, again, signing Tavares and then bringing in Darnell Nurse and Forbort, and we knew that we were going to be up against the cap pretty much all season, and that hasn't changed. Chiasson has signed, which is, of course, good news for us. Let's scout the DEL for 2 weeks, I do suppose. And I'll probably put Chiasson in on the fourth line and keep Peter Holland as that depth player. To be honest, the one thing I'm considering right now is maybe trading somebody at the AHL level who just isn't going to make it. That'll open up a waiver spot, and maybe we can manage to, get somebody at the last minute. But again, so we went best lines. We'll swap those two around, and let's put Alex Chiasson, who did not get called up by default. That could be trouble. What's my cap space at? Oh, okay, we still have space for him. Good. So we'll call him up. Nope, we'd be over the cap. It says we would be over the cap by a very, very minor amount. Well, Peter Holland, I'm sorry, buddy. Hopefully you clear waivers. He did. All right, so that helps, and he's still there as a depth player, and at least he'll get to play down for Laval, but oh my God, what a situation we find ourselves in. Damn, this is pretty ridiculous. Again, let's just swap these players around. And then down in the AHL, I'm just going to go best lines. And I'll take out David Brohl for Jaskalainen. Actually, Eikonen's not in the lineup either, so we'll take out, not Geeky, I meant to take out Yannick Veilleux. Good, okay, we're good. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anybody else that was scratched. So let's drop him down. And that's looking all right. We'll see what Holland can do at the AHL level, not them. All that concerned. So we've added Alex Chiasson due to the injury to Paul Byron. And we'll just have to see what happens from there. And I'm really not happy with Lehkonen right now. Again, you remember in the last episode I was tempted to reunite that third line from last year that did so well. And you know what? That's exactly what I'm going to do. Not that Nikita Sherbak exactly, deserves that chance on the second line, but I want to reunite Hudon, Deneau, and Lehkonen, and I want to see what they're capable of. So Nikita Sherbak's getting a pretty interesting spot and a pretty interesting opportunity. But we'll see what he can do. Why not? We're throwing whatever we can at the wall here to see what sticks. But Alex Chiasson, welcome aboard. Again, the team is locked into place. If we don't make the playoffs, we are looking at essentially a rebuild already. This is, the pressure is on. We need to make the playoffs this year at the very least, and then the success can come after that. Now, we did beat the Bruins and the Islanders. We lost to Detroit, Pittsburgh, Toronto. Thank God we beat Ottawa, but we gave them a pity point. We beat the Flyers as well, and that's going to bring up scouting, so we are up to 36 wins, but a couple of unfortunate losses there, including a loss to Detroit, the team currently in the basement of this division. We're able to beat Tampa. Now we have a big game against Buffalo, who I imagine are still leading the division. And Gallagher breaks his nose. Here come the injuries. Gallagher breaks his nose. He's out for a week. I can't call up Peter Holland. Who am I allowed to call up? I can at least call up Postler, so we'll do that. Don't know why I'm not allowed to call up Holland. It looked like we had the cap space for it. Maybe I'm wrong. So let's go with... I mean, right now it's looking a little bit rough. I'm just trying to think of who I want to put on the fourth line. So I think I'll keep the fourth line the same. We'll have Postler, Deneau, Sherback, and we will have... I'm going to go with Pacioretty, Hudon, Lehkonen on the second line for the moment. And we'll see how that works out for us. And then defensively, we'll swap. Actually, I'm just going to keep Alsner on the third pairing for now. This team continues to change. It just continues to change. We are in such a rough spot. We'll put Yannick Veilleux in the lineup in the meantime. God damn it, we'll just go best lines, whatever. I gotta take out Brohl again. I think Jaskalainen's the only guy I need to put into the lineup. Thankfully he is. He's up to a 57, so at least he's improving. And we'll bump up Will Bitton. And of course defensively we're fine. Sweet. Let's keep going. Oh my god. You know, I wasn't expecting that. We just lost to Buffalo 7-0 on home ice. When we are battling for the playoffs, we just lost 7-0 on home ice against the division-leading Buffalo Sabres. The good news is we are currently in a wild card spot. We have a game at hand on Florida, who are 1 point behind us. But this is an extremely close race. We are 4 points back clean of Tampa. We should be able to catch Ottawa. It is going to go down to the wire. We could finish as high as second in the division from the looks of it. We could miss out on the postseason. And I genuinely don't have the confidence to say for sure that we're going to make it. Let's see. We at least beat Vegas 2-1. 2 losses in a row will lead to lineup changes. Now, we beat Ottawa as well, but we gave them a pity point, and then we lost clean to Tampa, which is a disaster. Can we beat New Jersey? All right, 2-1 win over New Jersey. We'll sim the next 2 games. Hopefully we don't have to make any changes. We lose 4-1 to Calgary. Scouting is up again. Oh, let's go with the Czech Extraliga. Can we beat the Rangers, please? Gallagher's back. And we beat the Rangers. 41 wins. 41 wins this season. Where are we in the standings? We are up into third. Tied with both Toronto and Ottawa. We have a game at hand on Toronto. 2 games at hand on Ottawa. But we are 5 points back of Tampa, who, I mean, look like they might be able to catch Buffalo. I mean, we're 6 points back of the Sabres with 7 games to go. It is so close right now. It is unreal. But Gallagher is back. How did Gustav Postler do? Well, 3 assists. He only took 5 shots in those games, but I mean, he made somewhat of an impact. Stat-wise, he's not terrible. I compare him to... I just completely blanked on his name. Riley Barber. I compare him to Riley Barber from the Hartford series, who we, had for a little bit there, and it looked like he was NHL caliber offensively, but the defense and physical categories were an absolute disaster. Let's take a look here. So it's 52 points for Pacioretty. Tavares is doing all right. Drouin's doing all right. 32 points for Lehkonen. Galchenyuk's doing well. Gallagher's doing all right. I think that pretty much set up the team the way I was going to anyway. So Pacioretty, Tavares, Drouin, Lehkonen, Galchenyuk, Gallagher, Hudon, Deneau, Sherback, Chason, Shaw, McCarron. Defensively, Alzner's a bit of a disaster. Right. What do I want to do here? I mean, we're going to go Darnell Nurse with Weber. And then I think I want to keep Forbort and Petrie together. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. I haven't checked the goaltending this episode either. How's Carey been doing? .923 save percentage. Charlie Lindgren, he's gone up an overall point. Has over a .900 save percentage, but difficult to say. I don't think he's the long-term solution. So looking like Zach Fucale is going to be ready to be the backup next year. And he at least has a .910 save percentage. He's played a lot of games down in the AHL. Again, remember, though, we didn't have auto-rotate goalies on for a decent chunk of this season. But let's see what happens. I actually didn't put Postler back in the lineup. You know what? I don't care. It's not like the Laval Rocket are going to be making the postseason. So I don't even have to send him down. It doesn't really matter. Actually, they do have 32 wins, but 36 losses. Let's go ahead and sim the next two games. Both games on the road, Boston and Tampa. That's brutal. Boston, fly down to Tampa, then fly back up to Buffalo, and then we get a nice little homestand. But, oh, shit. All right, Boston and Tampa. We need wins. We need at least 3 points. And literally, we got 3 points. We lost in the shootout to the Bruins, but we beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. We needed at least 3 points. 4 would have been nice, but that helps. That helps to get the majority of points out of that situation. What is the current situation with the standings? We are back into 4th. Now, we do have a game at hand on Toronto. We are 3 points clear of Ottawa, who are in the second wildcard spot. We're 4 points back of Tampa, 5 points back of Buffalo with the same amount of games played. We have to beat the Sabres. We have to. And this is so eerily reminiscent of how the second season went with the Manhattan Project that I'm a little bit scared. Can we beat Buffalo, at least lose in overtime, and we get a 2-1 win? Even better. Even better, we get a 2-1 win. That's gigantic for us. We have 4 games left, all at home. Can we do it? Can we make it? Just make the postseason. Get there, and then anything can happen. We are in 3rd. Tampa and Buffalo have clinched playoff spots. Now, we do have a game at hand on Buffalo, as does Tampa. Now, I don't think we're going to catch them. Odds are we're facing either the 3rd place spot or one of the 2 wildcard spots. We need to keep winning. And the Blue Jackets have 41 wins this season, so this is not a throwaway game at all. We need a point, at least 1 point. Don't lose in regulation. Thank you. 4-3 win there. We have to play the St. Louis Blues next, though. They have 45 wins. Can we get a point out of it, please? Shootout win. Oh, my God, what a run. What a run we are on right now. A 6-game point streak at the end of the season, and that is so incredibly helpful. We have 45 wins on the year, 2 games left, including this one against the Buffalo Sabres. But let's take a look. We are currently in 3rd place, 1 point back of Buffalo, 2 points back of Tampa, 2 points clear of Toronto. This is our moment. We are playing Buffalo directly, and then we play Detroit, who only has 64 points this year. There is no reason as to why we shouldn't finish in 2nd place in this division. If we finish in 3rd, that's ridiculous. If we finish in a wild card spot, that's a disaster. Holy hell. We have clinched a playoff spot. But the seeding is what we have to worry about now. And much like last year, there is still that outside chance of a div title, but I at least want home ice advantage on the road, or home ice advantage in the first round like we had last year. Can we get it? We have to beat the Sabres. We're on a great run right now. Will it end here? Let's find out. If we lose, we are handing Buffalo home ice advantage in the first round. 3-2 overtime win. Holy shit, what a win for us. And again, the pity point for Buffalo really sucks, but we got the 2 points. and we are down to the last game of the season. We could tie Tampa. We could tie Tampa in points if they lose. We are currently tied with Buffalo. Identical records, but we have the tiebreaker. We needed that so bad, and now again, the chance to at least have home ice advantage in the first round. It's in the palm of our hands. We are playing the Detroit Red Wings, who are again in the bottom of this division. They might even, they got to be towards the bottom of the league. You would expect they're dead last in the league. They are dead last in the league. We have to win this. We have to. And yes, I know Colorado are currently looking at the President's Trophy with 110 points. We are on an amazing run. All we need to do is win. Win this game, we are guaranteed home ice against either Buffalo or Toronto. I assume it would be Buffalo just because of the ridiculous amount of wins. They have 5 more wins than Toronto. If we win and Tampa lose, I believe the division title is still a possibility. At the very least, win this game against Detroit. I am begging you to not lose this game. We lost to Detroit before. Paul Byron's 100%, and we won 4-2. What a stretch of games for the Habs down the stretch. Stretch. I'm going to keep saying the word stretch. Redundant. 47 wins on the year. That is good enough to secure home ice in the first round. Maybe a division title. Tampa has us on tiebreaker. Wow, a 3-way tie for first place. At the very least, though, we take second place. Buffalo throws away the title like we did last year. And we have home ice advantage against the Buffalo Sabres in the first round. Holy hell. Now, I assume the tiebreaker is fewer losses. Like, we have 2 more wins, but they have 2 fewer losses. I forget what the tiebreaker order is. Same regulation, overtime wins. Maybe it was a season, or maybe it was the fewer losses. I don't know. So that really does suck. But, at the very least, regardless, I would assume if we were going to be playing a Metro team, we would have been playing the New York Rangers. So it was Buffalo in the first round or the New York Rangers. So Tampa will be playing the Rangers, and we will be playing the Buffalo Sabres in the first round. Let's get confirmation of that before we take a look at the stats and call it an episode. I was so worried we were going to miss out. But at the very least, and you know what the confirmations are there, regular season's ended, we're good. Let's take a look at some stats. I was so worried that we were going to miss out somehow, but down the stretch, a great run for us. 8-1-1 to take home ice at the very least in the first round. I am so happy about that. Let's take a look though really quick. Let's see, goals per game. We made the playoffs despite scoring the second fewest amount of goals this year. The only team with a lower total were the LA Kings, who finished in 27th. The team directly ahead of us, Detroit, finished dead last in the league. How the hell did we make the postseason? That is unreal. That's also the worst, aside from like a Draft to Glory series, I don't think I've ever had a team with that low of a goal-scoring total. And when you factor in Pacioretty, Tavares, Gallagher, Galchenyuk, Drouin, that is so concerning. But, and like I say for other teams, we still made it. Despite those struggles, if we can find our game now, which we really started to at the end of the year, we are going to be a problem for everybody we come up against. Goals against per game was a 2.38, which was the 5th lowest in the league, so our defense and goaltending was on point. You can't blame that. It was the lack of goal scoring. Our power play was towards the bottom half of the league, so we'll have to address that. The power play was at 79%, which was also towards the bottom half of the league. So we had goal scoring trouble, we had special teams trouble as well, and we'll have to take a look at addressing that. And when it comes to the point totals this year, I mean, obviously, for the most part, they're going to be disappointing. John Tavares goes from 98 points to 59 and scores half of the amount of goals he did last year, from 62 goals to 31. Jonathan Drouin with 58 points, he had 45 assists. Again, compared to what he did last year, it's a little bit disappointing. 9 points off. I mean, the difference was 20 fewer goals. 11 more assists, but 20 fewer goals for him. Again, you could argue it's because John Tavares is the main man on that line now, at least from a goal-scoring perspective. But still, you have Max Pacioretty ready as well, 55 points, 23 goals, which is a decent total. Last year, though, he had 67 points. So, another down year for him. That's going to be the story throughout the lineup. 52 points for Alex Galchenyuk, 11 points fewer than last season. Brendan Gallagher, though, that's a big drop-off between Galchenyuk and Gallagher. 38 points in 76 games for Gallagher. He had 51 points last year. Again, disappointing. Very disappointing. Arturi Lehkonen with 36 points. Let's take a look. He had 35 last year, so I'm happy he at least hit the same point total, but again, he was used in a more prominent role on the second line for a decent chunk of the season, so that is a very disappointing year that he produced at the same level, as he did on the third line. That's incredibly disappointing. Philip Deneau with 35 points. He had 39 last year, so I guess I can't be too upset. I mean, he still had Charlie Hudon there, but he had Scherbak instead of Lehkonen, so that could have been a factor, but for the most part, I'm happy with his point total. Shea Weber with 34 points. Again, you can argue that I should change him back to a two-way. Let me know what you think. Andrew Shaw, 25 points on the fourth line. Charlie Hudon, though, 24 points. He had 35 last year, 19 goals. He had 4 this year. I am incredibly disappointed, to say the least. Nikita Scherbak in his rookie year had 20 points. He is up to a 79 overall. 20 points isn't terrible, but again, he put up 60 points in the AHL last year on that cup-winning team. I would have liked for at least 30. So I am disappointed in his season. McCarron with 18 points on the fourth line. Byron had 15 points in 60 games. Jeff Petrie with 14, 12 for Derek Forbort, 10 for Nurse, 5 for Alsner, and Chason had 5 points in 22 games. What do you think? Should we put Paul Byron in on the fourth line or go with Alex Chason? Let me know. And then Paul Ledoux had 3 points in 82 games. Postler had 3 in 6 games. And of course, he had some other appearances from the likes of Peter Holland and Noah Juleson. The goaltender, of course, Carey Price, 44 wins, 79 appearances. So clearly he was pulled from a couple of games for Lindgren to get 11 appearances. But he still finished with a .924 save percentage and a .915 for Charlie, so he was able to turn it around, which is nice. It means Lindgren could have gotten pulled from games as well. But Carey Price in the postseason, a bit of a different animal like we witnessed in the last postseason, so in the last playoff run. So we'll see what happens. Around the league, Vladimir Tarasenko, 103 points, led the way. You had Stamkos, Sagan, Ben, Kucherov was up there. Radulov was up there as well, so a big season for the Dallas Stars. Connor McDavid with 74 points. Trocheck had a really good year. Thornton with 71 points. The goal-scoring king was Tarasenko by a very, very big margin. And the assist king was actually Alex Pietrangelo, which is a little bit surprising. The rookie race, it is going to go to Pierre-Luc Dubois, 54 points in his rookie year. You also had Jason Dickinson, Timothy Liljegren, who's up to an 86, by the way, Sam Steele, Johnny Brodzinski, Valentin Zykov, Kyle Connor, Chandler Stevenson. Scherbak was there with Nathan Walker and Nick Baptiste. So, interesting totals there. A good year for Pierre-Luc Dubois, though. And I mean, for the most part, that pretty much covers it. We know what we have to do. We have to decide on certain line combos, maybe certain player types. But then again, we had a really good run down the stretch. And perhaps the only thing we should really focus on would be the special teams and improving the power play and the penalty kill. It might just be worth leaving these lines the same for now. As far as the power play goes, I think the obvious answer is to probably take Carl Alzner, off of the power play and get one extra forward in there, which, we're looking at a Charlie Hudon or a Philip Deneau, I would say, and giving them the opportunity. The penalty kill, you have Deneau, Gallagher, McCarron, and Shaw. I'm not really sure what else we'd want to do, maybe aside from, getting Carl Alzner on the PK would probably be nice, and then maybe taking McCarron out for whether it's a Paul Byron, if we put him back in the lineup, or maybe even a Max Pacioretty. There are certainly things that we can do. And the Laval Rocket, they're not going to make the postseason this year after winning the Calder Cup, but that was basically intentional. You can see there was some improvement among these players, which is what we were hoping for. Even someone like Juleson being up to a 72 is kind of nice. I think the main progression that's really nice for us is Fucale being up to a 78, as he is looking like he's going to be backup quality next year, which means Charlie Lindgren is probably out the door. Hopefully we don't have to rely on him to bail us out in the playoffs. But guys, as this episode comes to a close, and I just realized I didn't look at the trades right after the deadline, but I'm sorry. There was kind of a ridiculous playoff race going on. Let's get the confirmation. We already know who it's going to be. We know we're playing the Buffalo Sabres in the first round. We know that we have home ice advantage. But again, let's get that confirmation. And also, I will remember to get Gustav Postler set up down in the AHL. But there you go. The regular season has come to an end. The AHL season is also done. As we wait for this to update, there we go. So let's take a look at the full playoff brackets. Of course, we play the Buffalo Sabres. The Tampa Bay Lightning actually played Toronto. I was mistaken. Boy, now don't I feel foolish. I could have sworn I must have screwed up the point totals. I'm sorry. I'm sure people were yelling at me like, you were wrong! And you have every right to do that. I was wrong. So Tampa plays Toronto. We play Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and the Rangers. Carolina and Columbus in the East. Over in the West, it's St. Louis and Dallas. Colorado, Chicago. Vegas, they've made the playoffs. They play Vancouver. And we see Anaheim against Winnipeg. I want to take a look at Vegas really quick. Before we call it an episode, let's take a look, and I got to go to regular season stats, obviously. I really thought that Tampa was playing, that they were playing New York. I feel very foolish about that. The Vegas Golden Knights, they're basically the same team. They are basically the same team. They've added Daniel Winnick, Jimmy Hayes, Riley Nash, Shane Prince, and Tom Kuhnhackl. Defensively, you got Colin Miller, Shea Theodore. They are basically the same team. How the hell did they make it? I don't know. I don't understand. The sim engine works in mysterious ways, as we have clearly found out. Guys, that will do it for this one. The regular season for Season 2 is in the books. In the next episode, it all begins again as we play the Buffalo Sabres in the first round. Let me know what you would do lineup-wise down in the comments below. Any other things you want to mention, feel free to do so, including telling me how I was wrong about who the Rangers were going to play in the first round. If you enjoyed the episode, you know what you can do to support the video and the channel. Of course, links are also in the description to my Twitter and Twitch. Up on the channel recently as well, I've mentioned it before, but we had the NHL 3's video with the Crease Place. I also had that video with the China Dragon. If you haven't checked that one out, feel free to. It was a quick and interesting little video. Guys, I thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Oh God, if we don't win the cup this year, we are in so much trouble.